Hey guys, and welcome back to the Pennies to Pounds podcast with your host Kia. And this is the podcast where we aim to dispel your myths, simplify difficult financial jargon, and rectify your own personal problems. Happy Monday. I hope you guys are having a great start to your day. And to add to that joy and sentiment for you today, I have got another amazing episode. If you are looking to gain control of your finances, like this is the year that you've told yourself, I want to get better with my finances. I want to start building my wealth. This is the episode you need to listen to. And I've got an amazing guest to help me do that. Guest, who are you?
Atto, or aka Savvy Wallet. A lot of people call me Savvy Wallet, actually.
What do you prefer?
You know what? I don't mind, actually. I'm happy with any. I mean, people know me online as Savvy Wallet. So I think that's quite cool because it's a bit of a unique name.
It is, Savvy Wallet.
Yeah.
Being savvy with your money. Where did that name come from? Because whenever I think about how I came up with Pennies to Pounds, there's always a little story behind names. So where did your name come from?
You know what's the funniest thing, right? Like, I could show you. Like, I had notes of names. So Savvy Wallet was actually, it was just on notes. I didn't actually, it didn't just come to me. I literally, I was just thinking of like different names. Actually, what was another one I had? I think something about treasure or something like that. Yeah, I can show you after. Like, it's mad. I have like 50 names, and then I was going through it with my friends at work, and I said, I think I like Savvy Wallet. What do you guys think? They said, yeah, Savvy Wallet,
Nice.
Sick. So that's how we came up with the name, to be honest.
It's a good name, and you've got good branding with it.
Thank you.
I'm a big fan.
Thank you. I mean, it took a while.
Did it?
It took a while for me to get that branding. Yeah, I mean,
really?
This is gonna sound mad, yeah.
Go on.
My original logo, my first logo. If anybody scrolls back to Instagram. I
hope you know that in this video, I'm going to scroll back and we're going to see
Scroll back. I haven't hidden nothing.
Okay.
That logo, I made that for free.
Mad.
Yeah, I think it was on Namecheap.
Yes, I've seen that.
Yeah, I made it for free, completely free. Now my logo. Now I paid for that. I had to, get it.
Yeah, get it.
Like, okay, cool. Let's actually have a branding, but the brand colors, all of that, did it for free.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But I think that is a good example of just getting started.
Yeah.
Because I think if you worry too much about it's got to be perfect, you're never going to start.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that you just went ahead, you just created it, and then when you had the time, you said, right, this is the right time now to invest. You did that.
I mean, do you know what I mean? You know what? I think at that point I was a bit tired of just thinking. I was like, you know what? I just got to do it. Like you said, action. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
I love that. And we're going to be talking about putting action behind our words today.
Yeah.
Before we get there, I want to ask you, personal finance, and especially investing, there's a lot about what you talk about on your platform. Obviously, you do have your own podcast as well.
Yeah.
But how did we get there? What was the journey that led us to where we are today?
So, for me, I feel like I always think about uni, because uni was probably the point where I wasn't that great with my personal finance, to be honest. And I would say maybe most of us that went to uni probably wasn't that great with personal finance. I had a student loan like everybody else. I had an overdraft like everybody else, but the difference with me was I was very silly with my overdraft. I had about, I think it was about £500. I ran that up, and then I ended up not using the account, but I didn't read the terms and conditions. And what they were saying was that I had to pay my student loan into that account and keep it active. And I didn't do that. So because I didn't do that, they were like, okay, cool, we're closing the account. And then they put me into default. And I was like, what's a default? And then I didn't realize until years later when I wanted to basically get a tablet on credit, that had impacted my credit score and my credit report. And it was on my credit report. So I was like, shit. Like, then I was like, okay, cool. Like, okay, how do you kind of get out of this? And there was no way to get out of it, obviously. I had to just keep it for about 6 years. And then really from then, I was like, okay, cool. I got a bit more interested in credit, how to improve your credit score. I also realized as well at uni, maybe a few people did this too. I also maybe missed a couple of mobile bills too.
No, I was the same. Don't worry, you're not alone. I was the same. Yep, uni was tough. And you had to make decisions. Do I want to eat or do I want to go out, or is it my phone bill? And I said, maybe they can wait every so often. They can wait a little bit. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So that happened to me. And then I think for me, it was like, okay, you know what? Enough is enough. This is actually having an impact on me. I want to, get a property, right? That was one of my goals, right? I want to get a property. Okay, if I want to get a property, what I need good credit, right? If I want to get a property, I need deposits. I need to start saving. So it got to a point where I was like, okay, cool. Let's start saving little by little. And to be fair, I didn't start with a lot. I think I started with something like £100 or £200 a month.
Oh, good.
Then I got better. I got up to a point where I was saving about 50% of my income. And to be fair, it's because I was living at home. That was very important. I was living at home, but at the same time, I was not doubling, but increasing my salary 20 to 30% every 2-3 years. I was moving jobs every 2 years for like the first, I'll say 6 years of my career. So 20-30% pay rises, and then continuing to save. And I think when I got to, at what point? I think I saved about, this is how I knew I was getting good with money, right? I saved about 14, 15 grand, right? And I was still living at home. So I was like, okay, cool. Actually, you got it patterned up now. Now you know what you're doing with it, right? So I was like, okay, cool. I had moved jobs. I was like, okay, at this point, let me move away from home, right? And the reason for that was because, look, I needed more creativity space.
Yes,
I needed some space to think.
Easy free.
Yeah, and I felt like I could afford it. I felt like I was disciplined enough. I felt like I had the habits. My credit score was good. And for me, it was almost like a bit of a challenge. Can I now get to the next step? And then at that point, lived there for a few years. Again, increased my salary again by 40%. Was continuing to save. Moving out. One thing I will say to people: don't move out prematurely if you can.
Ooh,
and I
that's a good piece of advice.
Yeah, stay at home for as long as you can. Me, you know what's crazy? I think I moved out like maybe 26, 27.
Okay.
So I stayed at home for a long time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wish that I would have stayed for longer, because if I stayed longer, I would have bought my house probably 2-3 years sooner, because as soon as I moved out, that depleted a lot of my savings.
Yeah,
I had to, furnish property, had to get movers in, and you get a bit excited. What happens is you start just going to IKEA, you start getting crazy, and then you get this spending bug that is very hard for you to stop. You're just in that kind of mood, like, okay, I'm shopping at IKEA, let me get some new clothes as well, let me get some new trainers. You start going crazy. Yeah, so I depleted my savings quite a lot because of that. So yeah, I would recommend stay at home. If you can stay at home to your 30s, look, there's no shame in it.
There's no shame in it.
No shame in it. I mean, and who cares at the end of the day, right?
It's true. If you've got the money and it helps you with your financial situation and you're lucky enough to stay at home, I feel like that's something that's not always pushed. I remember a while back, I think I made a tweet like that, and I said something like, if you're in your 30s and you live at home, great. If you're in your 30s and you bought your own property, great. If you're in your 30s and you're renting, great. Whatever your situation looks like, it's actually fine. There's no shame in it.
Yeah.
And I think some people came to me and said, how are you pushing that people should live at home? How can you say that? And I said, I don't understand. Like, if you can stay at home, like me, myself, I still live at home with my parents, right? And I know that allows me to keep working on my business. It allows me to be able to save more. And anyone who knows me and follows me knows that I travel a lot. Yeah. Especially this year, it allowed me to be able to fund all of that because I'm not having to pay rent elsewhere and pay for bills. So I think it's good to hear you say that. It's very refreshing to hear you say that.
Yeah, you know what? That's probably what I would have told myself when I was younger. Stay a few more years. And I always say to people, look, if you can stay at home, defo stay at home. But, fortunately, I still managed to meet my goal. So moved out for a few years, kept on saving, was still quite aggressive with my saving. But at the same time, I was still increasing my salary, right? And then in 2019, just before the pandemic, fortunately, I managed to buy my property,
Amazing.
my first house, right?
Congratulations.
And then at that point, I was like, okay, cool. I've actually gone from a journey of, being bad with my money, having terrible credit, all of that stuff, to the point where good credit, good with saving, bought my first property. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it was like a complete 180 turnaround. So then I was like, okay, why don't I think about teaching other people how to do this? And my idea was, let me start a YouTube channel. That was the idea, right? But I didn't, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really have an idea. All I was like, I just want to teach people about what I've learned, budgeting, improving your credit, stuff like that. And by virtue of that, I was like, okay, cool. Need to create an Instagram page. And then, the rest is history.
The rest is history. And we're here.
We're here on the Pennies podcast.
Here we are. You just dropping the gems. And I'm so happy for you because I think, I feel like I've seen your journey and your growth, especially with your podcast now. Yeah. Your podcast.
Thank you. The Takeoff Experience, people. Listen to it if you're not already listening to it.
Amazing. I just feel like you're on this trajectory, teaching people and be able to showcase some amazing stories. So I think you're doing absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
Talking about investing now and investing into yourself. And it looks many different ways, but right now we're going to talk about the finances of it.
Yeah.
But overall, I want to ask you, how important do you think investing is for individuals. So whether that's investing their money, investing in themselves, how important is investing for individuals?
Very important. I think that's gonna allow you to ultimately do whatever you want to do, right? So for me, right, initially it was investing in my education, but how I did that was through time, right? I could have probably potentially saved on time if I knew somebody there. Or if we had the Pennies podcast back then, right? We didn't have it then.
We didn't have it
right?
then.
So if I had that, right, that probably would have accelerated that. So I did invest in myself, but I spent time to invest in myself rather than money. So I'll say it's very, very important because it managed to get me, like I said, from a place of low credit, etc., to a place of where I wanted to get my own property, have my own space and stuff like that. So I'll say that investing in yourself is very important. Now, investing from a finance point of view, I would say that's equally as important because you want to get to a point where, not that you're no longer working for your money, but you have other streams of income, right? It's just very important to have other streams of income to give you, for me, really, my goal in life is to get to a point where, financial freedom. I also like traveling too, right?
Yes.
I just got back from Paris last week.
How was Paris?
Paris
Sorry,
was lovely.
detour.
Yeah, Paris was lovely. It was amazing.
Nice.
A lot of people there, but we didn't get to go to a few places. But yeah, no, it was nice. I'm going to Barbados April.
Amazing.
Potentially going to Malta and Greece. So I love traveling.
Nice. I'm going to Thailand on Thursday.
Is it? So you see what I'm saying,
traveling.
right? So investing and getting other streams of income is going to allow you to do these other things, right? At the end of the day, right? Because obviously I've got my main income, but I'm also investing on the side, right? And in the future, what I want that pot of money to do is to basically pay for my lifestyle. So it's got that importance that it can help you, achieve what you want or help you achieve financial freedom.
I want to talk to you about some myths. So
Okay,
whenever I talk
cool,
about
cool,
investing,
cool.
there's always
Sure.
things that people believe to be the truth, which is what hinders them from actually investing. So I've got we've got 3 myths here, and I want to see if we can dispel them for people listening. So the first one is, do you need to earn a certain amount of money to be able to invest and become wealthy? Is that something that you need to have already in the pot? Do I need to be on like 50K before I think about investing to become wealthy?
Yeah, you know what's funny, right? And it's such an interesting thing. I think like we're in a time, 21st century, where like there's no better time probably than now to invest because it's become way more accessible. Back in the days, it wasn't. It was an elitist thing, right? It's only the rich that could invest because they had the relationships with bankers, right? So do you need to earn a lot? No, you don't. I mean, you can invest from as little as £1 these days, which is crazy. We have some of these great apps that has democratized, investing. So there's so many different types of apps, and it depends on this if it's on your questions, but there's so many different apps that allow you to invest from as little as £1. So no, you don't have to earn a lot to start investing.
Brilliant, love that. Second myth, is wealth only created through inheritance? I feel like we see a lot of these celebrities and their kids who have loads of wealth, and obviously it's from their parents who are wealthy or their grandparents. Is that the only way we can become wealthy, just through inheritance? Because not everyone has that.
You know what? I understand why a lot of people might look at, wealthy people and the rich and be like, yeah, I'll never be that. I can understand that. But at the same time, I would say to those people, there's, even if you're wealthy and you're not good with your money, there's loads of stories of wealthy people
Who lose their money.
Exactly. So if that's the case, think about it. The opposite is true, right? If a lot of wealthy people can lose their money, that means the non-wealthy person could become wealthy. So there are several ways that you, obviously, there's a lot of self-made people. Business, right? Investing, right? Warren Buffett, I don't believe that he was handed wealth. He wasn't handed wealth. You can go back in his trajectory. He's pretty much self-made at the end of the day, right? There's so many self-made people out there. So no, you don't have to come from a wealthy family to become wealthy if you really want to do. For me, what I would say is you definitely need to really educate yourself in terms of course, of what area that you want to go into. You have to have a level of discipline, right? And really have to have financial education. You have to, because like I said, the same way that wealthy people can lose their money, you can look. There's yachts out there. There's planes. How much do you think these things cost?
They are not cheap.
Millionaires can become bankrupt if you're not good with your money. So at the end of the day, you need to understand, the principles of personal finance to be able to, make sure you can get there, but then also maintain it. in future as well.
Oh, I like that one. That was a really good answer. I like that. Okay, and finally, if you're bad with money, can you ever become wealthy?
I think, honestly, to me, I would say that's like driving blind, right? If you drive blind, are you gonna crash? What's the likelihood? Probably, right?
Yeah.
It's the same principle, right? So if you're bad with money, the way I see it, no matter how much money you make, you're just gonna spend it, right? Because you have to think of the psychology of it, right? If you're earning 50K right now, right, you have a certain lifestyle and whatnot. Once you start earning 60, 70, 80, you're going to want to improve the lifestyle. You're going to want to start flexing on people. It's just normal, right?
Yeah.
You want to start getting a new car.
Yeah.
You might want to upgrade into a bigger house or whatever. You might want to get new clothes or whatever. You don't realize that by doing that, you're actually potentially, what that's called, inflation, is lifestyle inflation, right? Essentially the exact same thing. So I feel like if you don't have those principles and you don't really practice those principles, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to become wealthy.
So what would you say is a good way for someone who would deem themselves as someone who's bad with money to improve that? Because I feel like there are people out there who have almost allowed and said, this is me, and there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
And I feel like, no, you can change that. If you feel like you're bad with money, you can switch that on his head. But what would you say to someone who says, I feel like I'm bad with money? How do I change that?
I would always say to somebody, start small. You know, it's not about like, you're not trying to go from A to Z. I think it's really tough to do that. Start small. So like if you got a savings goal or if you want to save for something and you feel like, let's say £500 per month is too difficult for you, then you can start with 100, you can start with 50, right? I feel like what you're trying to do is you're trying to build habits, right? And for you to build habits, you have to start small. It's no different to the gym, right? You're not going to go to the gym and be like, yeah, I'm pushing 100 kg.
Yeah,
right?
and I'm just, my first day here and I'm just picking up 100 kg.
Exactly. It's the same concept at the end of the day. You have to start small and then you'll grow into it. So I always say to people, just start small. Second thing is get somebody to keep you accountable. I feel like if you have somebody, it builds in a little bit of a fear, right? Okay, this person's going to ask me about this, right? And it's somebody that you trust, somebody that you're comfortable with. At the end of the day, I think is important. So accountability is key, right? I said those two things. And the third thing is, you know what I don't like, right? When people say they can't do something. Why can't you? If somebody else is doing it, why can't you?
It's true.
Right?
If anything, someone else doing it is proof that you can do it.
Exactly. So I don't understand why a lot of people say can't. And you know the concept of, oh, this is me. Well, we always change, right? Like, I don't get it. What?
If I was 10-year-old Kia... If I was 10-year-old Kia, we're in big trouble. Okay?
Exactly.
We've all grown.
Exactly. I just don't know. I think sometimes people feel like for them to grow, it's a level of, I'm going to lose a part of yourself. No, not really. You're not going to lose part of yourself. You're just adding to yourself. Exactly. That's what you're doing. You're not losing, you're adding to yourself. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think even if I reflect on myself, even from university, like 18-year-old Kia to now, I'm a different person just because you've gone through different life experiences.
Yeah.
Things change. What you want to achieve is different. I know me at uni just wanted to go and have fun and party and just live her life. Now I'm looking to build stuff and build my future. So obviously you just change. And I think, like you said, when I think to myself and money, when I was a teenager, I was very much like, I was a person who was getting money. Yeah. So I was selling in school, earning my money because I wanted to have the newest things.
Okay.
I wanted to, BlackBerry Messenger was a thing. I wanted a BlackBerry. I wanted everything that everyone had, and I didn't want to, have money be a barrier. But now I see money in a different way, just because I've learned and I've grown. So I think you're absolutely right when you talk about...
It's important. You know what I mean? It's important just to understand that, like, we always change as people, and there's nothing wrong with that at the end of the day, right? Growth, there's nothing wrong with growth. And the other thing that I was going to say, and that you know what? I think one of the biggest drivers of change is if you have a goal. I think if you have a goal, no matter how big your goal is, I think that's going to also push you. If you don't have like something to kind of aspire to, it's a bit tough. You're kind of just like, okay, whatever, I'll just, But if you're like, okay, I want to buy a house, or I don't know, I want to get a certain car, or I want to go on holiday 5 times a year, whatever, right? I think if you have that goal, it's like, okay, cool, I'm going to do everything I can to get there.
To make sure I reach that.
Yeah.
No, I love that. Let's go a bit more on to investing and kind of breaking out some of this jargon that we see online.
Yeah.
So one thing that I really enjoy investing into, but I want you to help us break this down for everyone, is investing into stocks
Okay.
that pay out dividends.
Okay.
So, in layman's terms, what is a dividend stock?
Layman, so you know what? I'm gonna say this as simply as possible because I don't like jargon as well, and I think it's like unnecessary. So basically, a dividend stock is, I will say let's not say dividend stock. Let's talk about dividends. So dividends basically is income shared with shareholders from a company, right? So if you're invested in a company, they may, I'm not going to say all because sometimes it can change. They may share a part of their income with you. So by calling it a dividend stock, you're basically saying that you're invested in a company where they'll pay you a share of the income. So that's basically what it is.
Amazing. What are your thoughts on dividend stocks?
I like them. I think they're good. I think that it's a nice way to have passive income. I have a few dividend investments myself. Oh, something important that I forgot to say was that when you get the dividends or income from the company, they normally get every quarter. Sometimes you can get some that pay you monthly as well. So some people like monthly, and then there's others that do maybe semi-annually and then annually as well. But yeah, dividends, I like them. What I would say is that a lot of the companies that do give out dividends slash income, they're a bit more mature. So they're bigger companies that we know, like your Apples and your Coca-Cola. So I guess they're a bit more safer in again, you see when I'm saying
You have
this,
to remember,
right?
it's
You know,
investing.
investing is risk.
Yeah.
There's a risk there. So
Yeah.
when I'm doing that, I'm saying there is no guarantees, by the way, and I always state this. But yeah, I think that there is an element of safety with them. Again, what you can do is you can keep on building your passive income to a point that when you want a financial freedom or you're retiring, you have some money coming in. So a lot of people do that. It's quite good, to be honest. Yeah.
I think it's something where I've seen online. People don't really often talk about dividend stocks. We talk about investing and investing shares or bonds or whatever, but we don't actually talk about, if you break it down, what can you invest in that will actually pay you out. And that's why I love talking about dividends and getting it from shares that I invest in.
Yeah, it's quite, to be honest, it's nice. It is nice to see in your account, oh, you got paid a dividend by so and so company, by Apple or whatever.
I got a notification the other day actually, and I was like, oh yeah, is that notification of your dividend payment? I said, oh yeah, I forgot about that. So love that.
It's quite nice. And you know what? A good trick with it as well is when you get paid, you reinvest it so that you get more dividends next time, right? Instead of spending it, you just keep on growing the dividends, as I was saying, to a point where like maybe almost in the future can replace your income at some point, right? So that's the idea with what you're trying to do. You're trying to get, you're almost investing in a company to pay you on a quarterly or monthly basis. It's really fascinating, to be honest.
I think it's great. I think it's absolutely a great option. Another jargon term that we come across a lot. So see if we can break this down. Atto, what is compound interest? What is compound interest? Tell us for the life of us. Explain it to us.
Yeah. You know what's so funny, right? I was thinking, when I thought about this question, I was like, okay, how do I break it down? And you know what? The best way to break it down is, and I'll use an example, right? Is basically think of it like getting interest on top of interest, right? So let's use a very simple example. So say you put £100 in a bank account, right? And you got 10% per year, right? The first year, they'll give you back £10, right? So that's what you get back, right? Year 2, they'll give you £10, but they'll also give you £1, right? 10% of the 10 that was already in there. So that's basically what compound interest is, right? So you keep on, it just stacks as you leave your money. So it's interest upon interest upon interest upon interest. That's how I like to describe it. And I think that's the easiest way to describe what compound interest is.
I think that's a great explanation. But why should people be aware of compound interest when it comes to investing? I feel like it's always something that's coupled with, you should invest because of compound interest. But why? What is the link?
It's because ultimately what you're doing is again, let's caveat this. With time, over time, you're like, think of it like a chart. You're almost saying to your money, it's like, it starts off slow. It's like a little bit like like a cliff of a chart, right? It starts off slow, and then it skyrockets like that. So obviously we said 10% on the 10, right? Then year 3, what we doing? We're then doing 10% on the 10% on the 10%.
Okay.
So it's just like it just keeps on compounding, right? That's why we say compound interest, right? You just get multiplication upon multiplication upon multiplication. And then what that does, right, for you is that it helps your money grow over time without you pretty much doing nothing, right? It's just working for you. So imagine like having like, again, this might even be a better example. Imagine like having one worker and then next year you get a second worker for free. And then third year you get another worker for free. Fourth, you're going to be like, this is amazing.
I haven't done anything different.
Yeah, that's basically what it is and why it's important to invest in.
Yeah, I think that's a great example. When you use the worker one, I think if you didn't get it first time, that one should help you to understand compound interest. I like that. Yeah. We were talking before we started recording. You had some numbers up in front of you.
Okay.
Yeah, let's talk about those numbers. I think they're good because people don't always know this. So talk me through the numbers. Go on.
Yeah, you know what's crazy about this? So I was doing a bit of research, and I love to do research with the numbers in terms of investing to show you that if you don't have to invest a lot to make a lot of money. So if you invest £300 a month and you get about a 10% return, which you can do. So the S&P 500 has given about 10% over like the last 100 years. Now, if you did that for, 10 years, say you were 20 and you did that to about 30, you're like, okay, I'm going to withdraw the cash, right? You have 62K. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. So instead, let's say you wanted to, okay, I'm going to withdraw the money at 40 years. That's 230K.
That's good money still.
$250,000.
Yeah,
That's
I will take
that, right? I would definitely take that. Say, let's do this at 50 instead.
50 years.
Just under, no, you do it, yeah. You take it out at 50 years old, right? So
okay,
20
cool.
to 50, so about 30 years, yeah? Just under 700K.
That's good.
Wow, almost a milli.
Yeah.
Almost a millionaire. But if you left it for another 10 years, right? And you took it out at about 60 years, 1.9 mil.
1.9 million.
1.9 million. You almost have 2 million.
Do you know how comfortable that retirement could be?
That's crazy.
Forget about any other pension pots you have. You're just talking about just that investment.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's mad. It's insane. And this is the power of compound interest. You know what I mean? It's this, like I said, workers, right, multiply, but that's going on overdrive because you're doing it for 40 years, right?
Yeah.
Imagine 40 years of just that and consistently investing. That's the power of it. It's insane.
I think that's crazy. Like to think that you could literally become a millionaire just from investing. Forget about anything else you have going on, just from doing that and get to retirement age. Even if you started today, you could really get there. That's crazy.
It's insane. It's insane. And I think this just shows why, consistency and discipline is key, right? You'll get your rewards, but you just got to be patient, you got to be disciplined. A lot of and you know what? It's Instagram. I get it. I get it. You want to, you want to floss and all of that when you're younger. I get it. But there's nothing wrong with taking, the slow route as well.
Nothing wrong
and
with
getting there, eventually becoming a millionaire eventually, right? If you're a millionaire in your 60s, who's going to sniff at that?
No one's going to say anything. You'll be on your private jet, chilling.
Exactly.
I'll be happy with that at 60, I won't lie.
Exactly. So that's the power of investing in compound interest and why I talk about it a lot and why I feel like now is a better time than ever because of how easy it is to get into investing with a low barrier to entry.
Atto, amazing.
Thank you.
I feel like those numbers help to pull everything that we said so far in and kind of put it in perspective for people.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you before we wrap up, what would be some of your, it's going to be a twofold question. So what would be some of your key pieces of advice to anyone who's listening when it comes to investing, but just growing their wealth and kind of investing in themselves? And when we talk about investing, we spoke about earlier, but what are some apps that people can have a look at as well?
So I would say in terms of investing, probably been investing for 6-7 years now. At this point, I even invested in Bitcoin early 2017.
Wow.
So, yeah. So I've been through the highs and lows.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? But I would say with it, my approach to even that was start slowly. So just invest little amounts that I don't really care. If it's like £30, £20 here and there, right? And then what that allows you to do is it allows you to start educating yourself. Obviously, listen to episodes like this, listen to, Pennies to Pounds. You got to definitely educate yourself. It's very, very important to educate yourself and speak to people about it, right? Because there might be other people who are investing, get into WhatsApp groups, there's actually a good website that I use, StockTwits. It's basically Twitter for investing. It's amazing. So you can just like read other people's analysis, comment on there, ask people questions. So what you're trying to do, right, is you're trying to learn from other people, right? And go to events. Again, very, very important. Start networking with people. Start, maybe going and visiting people that do what you do. I think it's very, very important, especially in the investing world. I think it's quite important because then that's going to just accelerate like your journey. But yeah, I would always say start small. Don't go big because it's often you're probably going to make a mistake. It's the truth, right? You got to be like, okay, I'm going to put like $1,000 on Tesla, and then when it starts going down, you're gonna be like, nah,
your heart's gonna be pumping out your chest.
Exactly. You need to like ease yourself into it because investing is not for the faint-hearted. That's the truth, right? It's not for the faint-hearted. In the first 2-3 years, you could be losing money, but in 5 years, you could be making money, and that's just just how it is, right? Because the world is crazy, right? You just never know what's gonna happen. So I always say, start small, make sure that you educate yourself, and then in terms of apps, there's so many. Like, I feel like these days, I started with Fidelity. So I like Fidelity. Fidelity I don't think they have an app, but they were quite good because I was able to invest in what you call index funds, which is basically similar to like stocks. It's just like, I'm going to have to explain this, isn't it?
Yes, you are. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So index fund is basically, it's no different to a stock. It's just like a collection of stocks. But the stocks that you're invested in is basically part of what they call an index. And an index is like basically a list, right? It's like, think of like, how you got like Forbes 30, right? They've got something similar for companies, right? So in the UK, we've got something called like the FTSE 100. So it's like the biggest 100 companies in the UK. So you can invest in those 100 companies in like one investment. So that's basically what an index fund is. So Fidelity is quite good. I've used that in the past. That was actually my first platform that I used. That was quite good. I can't remember what their minimum was, but it wasn't a lot. Like I think you could invest like £50 or £100 a month, so it wasn't like crazy. I use Trading 212 right now. Again, not recommendation. Have a look at that. Trading 212. Why that's quite good. You can invest from £1. So I was like, okay, this is quite good. A start app, and you can also do demos and stuff like that. Just practice with fake money as well. And Vanguard is good. Vanguard is very similar to Fidelity, so it's really your choice, like fees and stuff like that, to see. And then free trade is good too, also cheap. Also, I'll say cheap. Prices are going up, so if you want to get in there quickly. But yeah, I would say Trading 212, Fidelity, and Vanguard are definitely like beginner like apps to take a look at.
Ato, thank you so much. You've provided so many gems in this episode. I feel like anyone who was unsure about investing or had some jargon in their head that they didn't really understand, hopefully this episode has been a good one to dispel that for you. But before you leave us, Ato, where can people find you? Where can they listen to your podcast? Tell us everything.
So you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter. Yep, Twitter. I'm still on Twitter, Savvy Wallet. Twitter is Savvy Wallet 1. I was trying to think, like, how do I say that? Twitter, Savvy Wallet 1, but everywhere else is Savvy Wallet. And then you can find my podcast, Takeover Experience, on all platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and also on YouTube.
Amazing. Ato, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
And thank you to everyone listening and watching. We're back again next week with another episode. Bye, guys.